October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe, we're proud to stand with the survivors, the fighters, and the families who inspire us every single day. And while we honor their strength, we're also helping you with the strength to save with special dealer offers. Like a new Ford F-150 XLT, save with 3.9% APR financing for 72 months. Or a new Ford Bronco Sport, lease for just $399 a month at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.
Good evening and welcome to Huddle Up, a high school show that we produce here on the Pit Press platform. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. My co-host tonight is my son and also ProView producer and play-by-play announcer and a Pit Press writer, my son, Nick Nunez. And son, welcome to the show.
Dad, good evening. Really excited to talk to our guest here tonight, break down some New Mexico high school football. It's the last week of the regular season in New Mexico high school football. We'll have the selection seating on Saturday, and then it's November. It's an exciting time.
Well, you'll be a part of that seating selection show along with ProView announcer Sebastian Noel, seating selection show 10 p.m. And you'll have you'll add a lot to that show. But without further ado, our very special guest tonight is St. Mike's head coach Joey Fernandez, who's led the Horseman to 5 state championships. We're very glad to have him on here this evening. Coach. Hey, Joey, man, welcome to the show. It's been a while since I had you on the sports desk. I know we chopped it up a couple years ago, and your Horseman still. You're a St. Mike's graduate, by the way, people that don't know. But your Horseman on a 30-game win streak here, and we're glad to have you on, Coach.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Coach, what we're going to do here is my son and I will bounce questions. By the way, the Horseman 9-0, 3-0. They've got Robertson in your final game of the year, averaging 45.3 points per game on offense and giving up 5.6 points per game on defense. Pretty dominant so far. So my son and I will bounce some questions. I'm going to start it off. Coach, you've led St. Mike's to 5 state championships and have an impressive record. What do you believe has been the key to maintaining such a high level of success over the years?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is to surround myself with good coaches. Having great coaches that believe in the program, that are committed to the program, and have the same goals as me, makes it a lot easier to get the kids to believe what we're trying to teach. I think one of the biggest things is our coaches. They get out there, during the off season. They work hard at getting them in the weight room, getting them outside, working on their speed, their agility, and all the good stuff. But, I think the biggest thing is having those great coaches. But, also having the kids we have at St. Mike's, they're great kids. They're driven and they work hard. And, with that mix, I think that's why we've been successful.
It's a culture. It's a culture of winning, and that helps because, you've won 5. You've reeled off 30 straight. And, culture matters a lot. I believe, Western New Mexico, just to give you an example, their volleyball team was doing better, played Angelo State last night that has a high winning culture, and we're not ready for prime time yet. And Angelo State let us know that last night. Your team is currently 30 games in a row, hasn't lost since October 1st, 2023. And, and I know, and my son knows, wins are hard to come by, man. They are. When you win 1 and 2, you're right. And coaches, they never enjoy them because you're like, we didn't do that right. We didn't do this right. You won some championships, right? But you go back to the film and like, we got to do this, we got to do that. How do you keep your players motivated and focused with such a long streak?
We talk about complacency all the time. We want to make sure that they don't become complacent. So we push them. We push them hard day in and day out. We make sure that, we're pointing out the mistakes they're making and the stuff that they can improve on. And we just try to get better every play. Every rep that they take, we want them to make sure that it's, their best rep. And we stress that they finish everything that they do as hard as they can. And, not leave anything out there. But I think, with that, the kids have fed into it. They believed in it. And, it's something that has worked for us, and it just keeps working. So, it's been good for us.
That streak is really impressive. It is. I mean, I think in the NFL, the Patriots won at one point 20 straight games. I don't know if you remember. They won 20 straight. Now, I want to talk about a streak. Hope girls had won 56 straight soccer games and were finally stopped last Friday. So a 30-game streak in football, I think, is very impressive, man, because there's going to be a game where you don't execute, you get hurt, calls, this and that. 30 in a row speaks for itself. Go ahead, son.
Yeah, Coach, wanted to switch gears and ask you about your quarterback this year. It's Kamal Stith, 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's his first year as the true starter. He took over for Reed Bass last year. Just what kind of development have you seen in his game this season?
It's more of a leadership with him. Last year, he did play every third series in every game. So, we were developing him. We know the talent. We knew the talent that he had and what he could bring. But Reed was, a leader. And we wanted Kamal to follow in his footsteps and kind of, feed off of what he was doing. And then, when Kamal stepped in this year, he changed his attitude as far as, being one of those guys. He's a joke around kind of guy. And he kind of, took the reins and, became that leader that we wanted. But, he's a special type of athlete. He's got great moves. He can throw the ball really well. He's got an arm that, I've had a few kids, but, he's pretty accurate. So, he's got all the tools to be a great quarterback. But, the biggest thing was getting his mind straight and getting him to understand that, being the quarterback, he's got to be the leader on the field. And, all the rest of the team is following him. So, he can't be doing a lot of those joking around things and, stuff that he was doing before. And, it's made a difference.
We're speaking with 5-time state champion head football coach Joey Fernandez. Coach, wanted to keep talking about your guys. Somebody on the defensive end that's really made some headlines this season is your defensive end, Ryan Hunt, only a junior. 15 sacks on the season. He plays both ends, plays tight end as well. Talk about how big he's been for you this season, Coach.
Ryan, he's just got a motor on him. He's He's probably the best defensive end I've ever coached. As a freshman, he set our school record for sacks. Last year, we had 2 good defensive ends, and the other one, Soren Annan, actually beat him by half a sack. And then this year, he already broke our school record, with those 15 sacks. So, he's up there. He's one of those guys that he gets on the line. He might be double or triple team, but he's going to find a way to get by him. And, he's such a good player, and he doesn't quit on the play. And, opposing teams, they try to run away from him. And when they pass, they got to make sure that they have 2 or 3 guys blocking him. So, he's a special type of player, but he brings that fire to the defense. And I think he's one of the big leaders we have on the defensive side of the football.
Dad.
That's a disruptor, Coach Ryan Hunt, because they have to account for him. They try to chip him. They run away from him. And, he's still got 15 sacks. And, that's the kind of disruptor that it's a game changer. We got a game plan for this guy. Right, got chip, hit 2 guys with him and still. So that's a big plus for the Horseman. I think Stith, didn't he play basketball too? Did Stith play basketball?
Yes, he does.
Good ball player.
Yeah, he's a really good ball player.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching him play last year. Coach, the Horsemen are looking for a 3-peat, and this would be your 5th championship experience. We talked about winning culture, and people know when they face your team, sustained excellence. What does that sustained excellence mean to you and the program? You mentioned coaches. You got to have the Jimmies and the Joes. What does that mean to you, you and your program?
Well, to me, I think a lot of it is everybody believing in each other, everybody trusting each other, everybody, making sure that the person right next to them is doing what they're supposed to be doing and holding them accountable. I think accountability is big when it comes to football because, if you're not accountable, there's nobody on the rest of the team that's going to trust what you're doing. So, when you got 11 guys on the field, every single one of the guys on the field have to be accountable. And, that's one of the things that, we stress to the team. We want to make sure, on the defensive side, we say we got to have 11 hats to the football every play. In practice, we stress that, we have 2 whistles where first whistle, we stop the play, and second whistle, we give them 2 seconds to get 11 guys to the football. So, that's one of the big things that we stress is accountability. And if we see anybody slacking, we got guys that want to step in there and do the job. So, we try to get those guys in there to let everybody understand that, everybody is accountable and, we want to make sure that, they're doing the right thing.
Commitment to excellence, you remember Al Davis would say that back in the day with the Raiders, just win, baby, right?
Yes.
That guy was something else, man. Al Davis. He really was.
He's a character.
No, he was. He really was. I've got to ask you this. Now, your schedule, 25-0, 53-7, 53, 28-0, 50-21 against the Academy, who's, come on since then, 47-8 over a good Eunice team, 54-0 over Raton, 47-8 over Hope, 42-0 over West Las Vegas, 61-7 over Pewaukee. You've got Robertson in this Saturday, and Robertson, a change of coaches there. Leroy Montoya, what's his?
Leroy coach? Gonzalez was there.
Oh, did a heck of a job, and with baseball, I thought he did a great job there. But they've been tough for a long time. But there'll be a challenge on Saturday. But does it concern you at all? Most of these games were blowouts. Most of these games, you say Mike's, again, we mentioned averaging 45.3 on offense, giving up only 5.6 points on defense. Does it concern you that maybe your team, you should have a good challenge Saturday, hasn't had that challenge where, you had to dig real deep?
It always concerns me because, like I said, complacency is something that, happens when you are winning games like that. And, we try to stress everything that we can to work hard, even harder than the week before or even the play before. I've been in that situation before where, we've won 10 games during the regular season, went undefeated. We beat a team. This was 2013. We beat a team 50-0 during the regular season. We faced them in the playoffs and we lose to them. And, that happens to be the Robertson team that we're playing this week. But, I've been part of that where, you do have complacency and, kids step on the field. They're kids. They're 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. And, the belief they have, when they do have a big win is that they're just going to step on the field and it's going to happen again. But they don't realize that the other team is well prepared and, they have a little bit of motivation to get back at you. So, one of the things that our kids always believe in when they step on the field is, that they're a champion team and, they're gonna play like it. And, we always tell them, act like champions, play like champions, but, play as a team. And, that's one thing that they've been doing well this year.
You're the hunted. You're the hunted, man, right? You're the hunted. People know that.
Big target.
Right? Yeah, we got a circle. Thrilling game against Dexter last year for the state. Probably the game of the day of the championship games that we had last year. The game of the day. Son, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess we'll kind of keep it on that note, Coach. I know obviously you guys got to take care of business. It's one game at a time. But that state championship against Dexter, I watched a good part of it. I watched the replay. And, that pick six, that kid Preto has a pick six in the end zone. You guys are down. It was a position that you guys really hadn't found yourselves in a lot that season. But just talk about kind of the rally and the fight in your guys to, your quarterback, Reed Bass, leading that 2-minute, 30-second drive to get into the end zone and get you guys that state championship.
Yeah, it's all about the belief in what we're doing. We talked about trusting each other and knowing that everybody on the field is going to be doing their job. And I think that was one of the biggest things when we stepped on the field for that last drive is that everybody believed in each other, that we were going to get down the field and score. It was a little stressful. I'll tell you that. But, we had kids make some big plays on 3rd and 4th down. And, it's something that, we weren't a part of, last season was those close games. And, when you're in a close game, you kind of see what type of team you have. And, we found out that, our kids really believed in what we were doing and, they worked hard and trusted each other. And, they had that success getting down the field. And, it showed with that 2-point win.
Yeah. We're speaking with St. Mike's head football coach, Joey Fernandez. Coach, before we got on, you and I were kind of talking about some of the injuries that you guys have faced this season. I was telling you I really follow Will Weber, James Baron of the Santa Fe New Mexican. I think they do a great job of covering your program. One of the articles that they wrote out, it was the recap of when you guys beat Hope earlier this season, talking about how you guys were down to 25 available players on the roster. You were sharing with me that you're down 11 guys, 6 starters, 3 of them on the offensive line. Just talk about how you guys have battled adversity and still had the success that you've had this season.
Yeah, I've been a part of, a lot of seasons where you get one injury and it kills the team. First game of the season, we lose our, one of our best wide receivers. He was our leading receiver last year, and he actually had already caught 2 touchdown passes in the first game. And, he tore his ACL and we lost him for the season. And then, bodies just started dropping. We've lost 3 linemen for the rest of the season, to shoulder injuries. And, it's been tough, but, we've had a lot of guys step it up. We started the season only with 9 offensive linemen, 9th through 12th grade. So it's been a process. It's been real stressful trying to get other guys involved. We have 2 guys that were running backs that are starting on the offensive line now. So we've had to move some guys. They've had to move positions where it's always tough, when your skill position going to the offensive line, playing in the trenches, it's always tough, but these guys stepped it up. They're team players and, they've made a big difference in what we're doing, especially the last few games.
For sure. Coach, this will be the last one from me, then I'll turn it over to my dad. But we're talking about, we're going to have state selection seeding this Saturday. We'll find out who's the 1 seed through 12 in all the classifications. You guys got to take care of business on Saturday against your rival, Las Vegas Robertson. You're likely almost guaranteed to get a home game But just talk to us a little bit about kind of the depth of Class 3A this year. You got Dexter down south, who's looked really good. They've only lost one game to Grants earlier this season. Your district, you and I have been talking about it. West Las Vegas, Pewaukee Valley's been better this year. Just talk to us a little bit about the depth of the 3A class.
Well, there's a lot of parity in the 3A class this year. I think 1 through 8, 1 through 9 seeds are pretty much even. We've had some success against some of those teams, but I already know once playoffs start going, we're going to face some good teams, and with Dexter, they proved that they can play with the best of them last year, and they've been playing good ball this year. And, we look for them to be one of the top teams out there. But, the rest of the teams out of our district, Robertson, West Las Vegas, Pewaukee, and Hope Christian, all those teams battled in district play. So, any of them can beat any of the other teams out there. So, I think, with our district, we'll have at least 5. Our 5 teams will be at least in the top 6, top 7 of the seeds. So, it was a battle during the district season, but, it only prepared us for the state season. And so, I look for good things out of our district during the state championships.
Dad.
Yeah, a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go, Coach. Sure appreciate you coming on. Like I said, it's been a couple of years, man, but I always keep an eye on your program. This is a question from our owner of the Pit Press. His idea to get this whole thing started. Hey, Coach, can you talk about your coaching staff? I've known Joey Butler for as long as I can remember, and he's been a part of your program for years. By the way, Eric Moulton on the 2004 Capital State.
I remember.
Yeah. Eric's a great guy. We wouldn't be where we're at without him. But can you tell us a little bit about Coach Butler?
Coach Butler's, he's been on the staff, since 2010. And, he was a position coach. And, when I lost, Andrew Martinez to Santa Fe High School, he went over there as a head coach. I moved Joey up to defensive coordinator, and, he's done great things. He's got, a lot of creativity in what he does. And, he puts a lot of kids in different spots that, you might not think they could be playing that spot, but he finds ways to make sure that, they're producing and doing, what's best for the team. So, he's a graduate. I coached him back in 2002. He was a 2002 graduate, and, he's been really good for the program. And he's also, one of my top assistants for track and field. He's my quarter miler coach, and he gets those kids ready, and he does a great job with both my programs.
Yeah, great question there from Eric, who's a norteño, he's from the North, man. So, Eric's great. Like I mentioned, a big part of that 2004 championship, by the way. 2 more questions, and we'll let you go. Given this is kind of fun question, AI generated, given your team's dominance, do you believe St. Michael's could compete successfully in higher divisions such as 4A and 5A? It's a fun question. You're gonna wonder that amongst yourself as coaches. Do you think you could?
I actually do. I think with the team we have this year, we have comparable athletes. We might not have the same depth as some of those teams, and we have a lot more kids going both ways. But we've played a lot of the same teams as some of those 5A and 6A teams. We did play Santa Fe High 6A team, Capital 5A team, Taos 4A, and Albuquerque Academy 4A. So we do Capital 5A. So our whole pre-district schedule was with higher classifications. But you look at Santa Fe High, they were real competitive in their district at what they were doing, and we went out there and we played comparably to some of those top teams out of that district. And, you look around at a lot of the teams that we did play, they were comparable to, look at Albuquerque Academy, what they've done.
Yeah. And they've come on. They really have.
Yeah. So I feel, if we got on the field with some of them, it'd be a competitive game, whether it's 4A or 5A.
One more question. We'll wrap it up. You've had a lot of great success there. What advice would you give to young coaches who aspire to build a successful and enduring program like the one you built there?
Like you said early on, surround yourself with good coaches, good people. Believe in what you're doing. Strive for the best, and make sure you get those relationships with the athletes. And they need to understand what your goals are, what you're trying to do, and what your beliefs are. But I think the biggest thing is show it in practice. And you don't have to be intense. You don't have to be yelling all the time. I think the biggest thing is when kids are making mistakes, make sure that you teach them the right way to do it and to do it full speed. I think that's one of the biggest things. Coaches, they think they need to be yelling at the kids a lot. Every once in a while you have to, but I think going in there with an open mind, understanding that they're going to be making mistakes, that you have to make sure that you're teaching them the right way to do it. So I think that's one of these things. Yeah.
I'm not sure coaches or kids responded so much to that anymore. They do it a little bit, but these are different kids and athletes. But football, you do have to tell them, especially, you have to let them know they have to focus. Son, you got anything else left for Coach Fernandez?
I don't. Coach, really appreciate your time tonight. Wishing you the best of luck this Saturday against Robertson and then also in the state tournament. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It's been a great time.
St. Mike's head football coach Joey Fernandez is Horseman ranked number 1 and 9-0 and a district record of 3-0 will face off against Las Vegas Robertson this Saturday and at St. Mike's at 1 p.m. Thanks so much for being our guest, Coach. We'll be back after a short message with Pit Press beat Lobo football writer Greg Archuleta.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe, we're proud to stand with the survivors, the fighters, and the families who inspire us every single day. And while we honor their strength, we're also helping you with the strength to save with special dealer offers. Like a new Ford F-150 XLT, save with 3.9% APR financing for 72 months. Or a new Ford Bronco Sport, lease for just $399 a month at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. We just had St. Mike's head coach, football coach Joey Fernandez on, and Nick, he's built a great program there. 30-game winning streaks in anything is tough. I think it's really tough in football. And considering the injuries he's had, especially on the offensive line, he's having running backs play on the offensive line now. That's huge. What did you think of Coach Fernandez?
Thought a lot of him. When you've won that many games and you've been that dominant, you kind of have that championship moxie. You just expect to win. It's kind of doesn't really matter what happens, who you're playing. He talked about the state championship game last year against Dexter when they went down in the final 2.5 minutes on a pick six, and his guys rallied back. It's that expectation to win. Coach Fernandez has built that culture in his program. He's one of the best to do it in the state of New Mexico, Dad, and it was a pleasure talking to him.
Yeah, no doubt. He's built a great winning culture there. We're now joined by Greg Archuleta, the Pit Press beat writer for the Lobo football program. Arch, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Greg, you were at the press conference yesterday. I wasn't able to make it. I was in Silver City. Nick couldn't make it. Was working. So you've been there just about every press conference that there's been on Tuesday. And Coach Jason Eck facing off against UNLV on Saturday at Allegiant Stadium. The Rebels are 6-1. UNM is 5-3. What did Coach Eck have to say about this big matchup? We didn't know what kind of matchup it would be looking at the schedule before the season started. UNM in a pretty good position here. They do play a very good UNLV team. What did Coach Eck have to say yesterday?
Well, he was very complimentary of the program, of the job that Dan Mullen's done, of their quarterback, Anthony Colandrea. But then the subject quickly turned to about A, the job that Coach Eck has done, and then B, kind of, okay, what does the future look like for him? And so, in fact, at one point, Frank Mercogliano, the SID for Lobo football, kind of said, hey, any other questions about UNLV? Because it was kind of more, not so much probing, but, one, how does one turn around a program so quickly? We talked about the fact that there's 72 new players and a new coaching staff, and Coach Eck did acknowledge that since a lot of programs are doing that now, and it's kind of the norm with the NILs and the portal, that you can do it a little bit faster maybe than in years past. But by the same token, then that led to, well, if Coach Eck can do it here, who's to say he can't do it somewhere else next year? And so all he said was, well, it will take a very special situation, which is pretty ambiguous, and obviously can't tie anything to what he's saying. But I'm sure there might be some special situations that open up. There's been a couple that have opened up already, and we're not even in November yet. And so that was the gist of the conversation. But going back to UNLV, on paper, again, a team that hasn't scored under 30 points all year, but they are prone to giving up some points. The big thing about this matchup is I think they are number 3 in the nation in turnover margin, 416, only giving up 4, and the Lobos, as even though they won the turnover battle 1-0 last week, still I think rank 131st, I believe, in turnover margin. So again, that's the key. If the Lobos play clean, they got a great shot. If they don't, especially on the road, they're not going to win.
Son.
Yeah, Greg, wanted to ask you about a little bit more about UNLV's quarterback, Anthony Colandrea. Looks like 1,600 passing yards. I watched a little bit of UNLV's game against Boise State. It was 28-24 at halftime. It's no secret the Rebels can score the football. They lead the Mountain West Conference in scoring, like you mentioned, 37 points a game. Colandrea seems like he's a little different than Bryson Barnes, and I think Coach Eck said that at the press conference, just his ability to break containment, scramble outside the pocket, fight for some extra yards. I think he ran for a rushing touchdown against Boise State. But what kind of matchup problems does Colandrea pose for this Lobo defense?
Well, what Coach Eck said is he's probably a little bit faster than Bryson at Utah State. And so contained by the defensive line is going to be huge because, what he said, try to put a linebacker or a defensive lineman as a spy, it's probably going to outrun that person. And so what the Lobos have to do is be very disciplined, but still get a rush on within the pocket. And so, again, one of the big things is, as good as he is and as good as the offense is, a lot of their success comes from the fact that their defense forces a lot of turnovers. Their special teams have blocked a couple of kicks. And so a part of that scoring is based on other factors. So, again, if the Lobos can avoid getting into a track meet with UNLV on the road, they got a good shot. But that's a $64,000 question.
Yeah. One other question for you, Greg. Looking at this UNLV team on paper, 6-1, but I think I read somewhere on X that when they were 6-0 before they lost to Boise State, the claim was this might be the worst undefeated team in college football just because of some of the teams that they played. Idaho State, who the Lobos beat, second game of the season. UNLV had to gut one out at home, 38-31. Miami of Ohio, that one was on the road, won that one by a field goal. Then a shootout with Air Force, 51-38 or 51-48. But they've won some close games. And Coach Eck talked about that at the press conference, that boils down to coaching. UNLV's head coach, Dan Mullen, the former head coach at Florida. But what should Lobo fans kind of make out of this UNLV team? How good are they?
Well, yeah, I mean, who was it that said you are what your record is? And so you can say, we've talked about the Lobos, right? I mean, their wins, especially early, Idaho State, Nevada, weren't the prettiest things either. But here they are, one game away from a bowl eligibility. And so, I watched a lot of the Air Force UNLV game, and Air Force seemed like they had them on the ropes, and UNLV found a way to win that game. And Calandria was, a big part of that. And, he led them on the drive, and I think they scored with 36 seconds left to put that game away. And so, again, both teams are used to close games. Both teams seem like they don't lose any confidence or are scared in those situations. The Lobos have to prove themselves on the road. I know they had a good win at UCLA, but that was many moons ago, just based on what they did their last times out in the conference against San Jose State. And Boise State, they're going to have to step up their game on the road.
Dan Mullen, we're at Mountain West Media Days, and his entourage, asking him questions, not entourage, but people were crowded around where he was at. He drew a big crowd. The former coach at Mississippi State and the University of Florida. How big was it a boon for the Rebels to get him as the coach?
Well, and anytime you get somebody that's coached at Florida, kind of like, the Lobos with Bob Davie back in the day, and Davie did get him to 9-4 at one point. So, it's huge, especially at a place like UNLV where they're glitz and glamour, right? So to get a name, I think was really good for them, and it showed on the field so far. And so, obviously you can see why he would be a popular figure at Media Day, having had the success he had, especially early on at Florida.
Oh yeah, he had a big crowd around him, and I was able to listen to a little bit about that of the interview. And I think you made a great point about containing the quarterback. They did a great job against Bryson Barnes in doing that. Only limited him to 4 yards rushing. You had mentioned it was going to take better defensive play from the defensive line. They did. Let's see how that travels on the road. You mentioned special teams. They've blocked a couple of kicks. New Mexico didn't have special teams woes last week. They won that battle, pinning Nevada inside the 5 a couple of times. Safety. Drzwicki kicked a couple of field goals. And, Ned James always talks about hidden yardage, how important those special teams are. We're not going to keep you long, Greg. We know you want to get back to your baseball game. But
I was going to say, we've been on twice now, and both times, I know we won't have it again, but, both times our Dodgers are losing. So I don't know if this is going to be a good combination or a good time moving forward. Very superstitious, like Coach Eck on some things. And so, yeah, this is not good. But go ahead.
Yeah. We don't want to mess up the Dodgers mojo. But real quick, you mentioned about all the things surrounding the questions surrounding Coach Eck, and even though Frank Bacagliano tried to tamp those questions down, they're going to come up. They're going to come up because you and I, we mentioned this the other night. They're 5-3, and usually we're like this, like, are they going to make a bowl? And they're in good position here. They're in good position to win maybe 7 or 8. So those questions are going to be asked. He's doing great here. He's turning the program around that hasn't been winning in years. Those questions are not going to stop, man. And my wife, she'll tell me, I don't want to hear it. Just enjoy it. I don't want to hear, he's leaving. But those questions are still, they're going to, if they win this week, they're out the door. Next week at next week's press conference, first 10 questions are going to be about that. You mentioned there might be an opening at Wisconsin. I think there is, isn't there? Is there an opening there?
I don't know if it's open yet. If it's not, it should be pretty soon.
There's going to be several other openings, but just tell us, your quick opinion about, that's going to keep happening.
Well, and I think especially now in the age of, again, NIL and portal, we're seeing players moving everywhere. A lot of coaches now, I think there's a lot more pressure on them to win early as well. We saw what happened at LSU and their coaching situation. So I think coaches have to kind of get when the getting is good. And so I'm sure Wisconsin probably has a list of names that they have in mind, and I'm sure Coach Eck is on there. The one thing I would say, it's never been anything that anybody's ever taken me up on, but I will go back to the Steve Alford situation. Steve Alford could have been the coach here as long as he wanted, and he could have been mayor of Albuquerque, probably governor of New Mexico. He had the program on the verge of something. Now, of course, UCLA comes calling, and especially in basketball, you've got to listen. But UCLA hasn't been UCLA really since 1995, the last time they won a national championship. I know they got close with Ben Howland a few times. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener. And I go back to, we talked last week about there was a video that Coach Eck did previewing the last week's game where he was driving in a lowrider with his players, passing out tickets at Frontier. I'm not sure Wisconsin is that kind of place. I can't say for sure, but he's got a pretty good thing here. And, maybe I'm not saying that he needs to stay here 10 years, but maybe see what he can do here. And then if his name gets called, his name will get called again at some point. But I would just say, hey, you've got a pretty good situation where you're building something. And like Kate Keith said after last week's win, he wanted to make Albuquerque a football town. Well, it's a football town right now, but if he leaves, then who knows what happens. We've seen, unless you hit a home run with a coach, which is not often with the Lobo football program, then it's not a football town. And so my argument is not, but I am not Coach Eck's wife. I'm not his family. Certainly he's got to do what's best for him. But certainly, I think you got to look at staying at New Mexico and trying to see what this place can come. That's got to be in the conversation somewhere.
I've got my fingers crossed, Arch. We sure hope so. Son, go ahead and throw one more to Greg.
Yeah, one more question for you, Greg, then we'll let you go. 4 more games left for UNM. They got UNLV on Saturday, kickoff 1 p.m. It's going to air on the Mountain West Network at Allegiant Stadium. Then the Lobos have a bye week, and then they'll have 3 more games at home against Colorado State, on the road at Air Force, and they'll end the season that Friday after Thanksgiving at home against San Diego State. What do you think is a realistic finish for the Lobos? Do they go 2-2? Is there a chance for them to go 3-1? Do they go 1-3?
Well, we talked about this after their win. San Diego State, it's good that it's here. And San Diego State might be playing for something as well. You just talked about, even though UNLV is 6-1, you look at their schedule. Who have they really beaten? Their one big test against Boise State, they came out of the flat in the second half. So UNM has a good chance of being 3-1, I think. I think most realistically, it's probably 2-2. But again, if they play like they played last week, and granted that Utah State played very conservative, and I don't expect any teams left on their schedule to be punting the ball on the UNM 40, especially if they're down. So the Lobo defense is going to have to bring it in these last 4 games. But anything's possible. So I'm going to go 3-1. I think they can win this game on Saturday just based on the momentum. And you're looking at an 8-4 season. That's pretty impressive. And then we got to talk about Coach Eck again. But I think I think that they can win this Saturday. And if they do, they're in really good shape.
Yep. That was Lobo football beat writer for the Pit Press Live, Greg Archuleta. Once again, Lobo football in action on the road at UNLV at Allegiant Stadium. Kickoff time, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. It'll air on the Mountain West Network. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back, wrap the show up. We'll talk a little Lobo men's basketball Head coach Eric Olin addressed the media here about 20 minutes earlier this morning. We'll talk about what he said about the team's matchup against Washington State. We'll look a little bit at Northern Arizona. This is the Pit Press Live.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe, we're proud to stand with the survivors, the fighters, and the families who inspire us every single day. And while we honor their strength, we're also helping you with the strength to save with special dealer offers. Like a new Ford F-150 XLT, save with 3.9% APR financing for 72 months. Or a new Ford Bronco Sport, lease for just $399 a month at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.
All right, welcome back to the Pit Press Live. We were just with Lobo football beat writer for the Pit Press, Greg Archuleta. Dad, big game for Lobo football against UNLV at Allegiant Stadium. What'd you think of Greg's take?
Surprised that he picked New Mexico on the road against Las Vegas or against UNLV. I was surprised at that. But I think the way they played last Saturday, they played a complete game. They played all three special teams, offense and defense. So I think there's optimism. Normally, I would have said they're not going to win this game. So if Greg thinks they can, that tells me a lot. So I loved his optimism, and he thinks 8-4, Nick, would be, like I said, we're usually happy with 6-6, 7-5. 8-4 would be hadn't had that since 9-4 with Bob Davie in 2016 or 15. So it's been a long time. So I love his optimism. We'll see what happens.
See if the Lobos can ride that momentum. Let's switch gears, Dad. Talk a little Lobo basketball. Coach Olin addressed a small contingent of the media this morning, 9 a.m. Talked a little bit about the loss against Washington State. Again, the Lobos fall 74-66 on Saturday to the Cougars. The big story, the big headline that Lobo basketball fans are talking about is the way that the team shot the basketball, 11 for 44 from three, just a high volume of threes. And you know what? I don't think it's a secret anymore, Dad. We don't need to beat the horse dead. This team is going to shoot a lot of threes. It's the bottom line. And Coach Olin said that today at the press conference. He was asked several questions about the team's shot selection. Did he like the shot selection? Nobody got to see the game. It was a radio broadcast other than Jeff Grammer, who did make the trip up. But I did cut some sound bites of what Coach Olin had to say. I'm going to see if I can present a little bit about what he said. This was Coach Olin when he was asked about the shot profile. Did he like the shots that his guys got up? And this is what he had to say.
Like, there's probably 20% of our shots where, like, they're shots that we can make, but relative to where we are in the possession, is that the one we want at 23 in the shot clock, or do we need to get to another action and try to improve that? Like, there were certainly some of those that are like, yeah, that's a good shooter and he can make it, but if we move the ball, we touch the paint a second time, things like that, we could upgrade the value of those shots. So we certainly want.
So when I see that, Dad, I think I get he likes the shot selection. There's some other sound bites that I cut that I won't play. But the gist of what he said was, we're going to get those shots up. It's just what point in the shot clock, if it's a half-court possession, if we're not in transition, do we want to take the first three that we get? And again, we didn't see the game, so it's hard to say. From what he said at the press conference today, it sounds like guys were kind of taking the first three that was available. And what he wants is guys to be a little bit more patient, go a little deeper into the possession, and get the best shot available. What do you think the Lobos will come out with tomorrow against Northern Arizona shooting the basketball?
You can bet that they looked at the film, and just by what he said, touch the paint. You want to get some action in the paint, kick back out if you can, and get a better shot, catch, shoot. Was it in rhythm? And I think that's what I saw. They ran some clips, and I saw Jake Hall make 2 straight, which were in rhythm from the corner, and that's the key. When you're going to shoot a lot of threes, we see people shooting volume threes. Are they in rhythm? Were they squared up? Were they a challenge three? What were the percentages? Challenged, wide open. Olin's going to look at all that. So I think tomorrow you might see a team that's a little bit more patient. He mentioned that. Touch the paint. Want to get possessions in the paint, kick out. So, or take the best shot, the action in the paint. So, I think Nick, they didn't shoot well, 11 of 44. We said that already. They went 0 of 7, 0 of 6, 0 of 8. They had some cold shooting spells. It's an exhibition. I think I'm anxious to see what they're going to look like tomorrow night. And again, we mentioned this too, playing in front of the pit crowd. It's the first time for every one of them. Nobody has played here in the pit yet. So you mentioned you thought maybe 8,000 to 10,000 tomorrow night. So let's see how they shooting in practice in a live game. The shooting background is a lot different. I think I've always said that when you come to the pit. So let's see how that all plays out. Remember, this is a team I think Lobo fans will embrace. They like to see running and scoring. And they didn't shoot the ball well the first game, but I have hope that Coach Olin broke it all down in film, and they'll have much better looks tomorrow night, I think.
One of my other taking points from the press conference, Coach Olin talked about the foul discipline. 20 team fouls in the second half. We talked about it on the last show. Washington State gets into the 1-1 at the 15:05 mark in the second half. Coach Olin talked about, a lot of the time we took 6 fouls before Washington State even crossed half court, and they're in the 1-1 or in the double bonus. So we've got to have better foul discipline. Some of that comes with fundamentals, and some of that comes with playing the style of defense that he wants to play with, Dad. We ran a piece a couple weeks ago, Olin's blueprint, creating chaos on defense to light it up on offense. You can find that on our website at thepitpressnm.com. But we didn't see them on Saturday. I feel like they're going to play a little bit of matchup zone. It's tricky where they trap the ball, try to force turnovers. You're playing on your toes on the defensive side, trying to steal the basketball. I mean, that's the goal pretty much every possession is get a stop or get a steal. And when you're playing like that, you're naturally going to be trying to steal the ball. There's a chance that you're going to get out of defensive position and commit a foul. Dayton Albury was asked, he picked up 3 fouls within kind of the first 3 minutes of the first half. And he was asked, did you think those were fouls? And he said no. Sometimes it's the way the game is officiated, and that's part of the game. That's just going to happen. But Coach Olin talked about needing better foul discipline. this is an exhibition game tomorrow against Northern Arizona. Another thing that Lobo fans are probably asking about is, what kind of substitution patterns are we going to see tomorrow? Against Washington State, it was a lot of 5 in, 5 out. We get 4 guys in and sub another guy in a minute later. Coach Olin said today at the press conference, we're still experimenting with lineups, and that may not stop tomorrow. That probably will continue into next week on Wednesday when they take on East Texas A&M in the pit, and maybe the first 3 games before they play New Mexico State on November 15th. But I think that, this is a brand new team with 14 guys. I don't know if we see the same starters tomorrow. The starting lineup was Antonio Chol, Dayton Albury, Chris Howell, Tomislav Bullion, and Jake Hall. We talked about it, and Dayton Albury today. He's going to start, pretty sure. Chol probably going to start. Bullion probably going to start. Howell, with the experience playing Coach Olin's program, probably going to start. And they seem to be very high on Jake Hall, man. He shot more shots than anybody on the team on Saturday. He shot 13 shots. Dad, do you think Lobo basketball comes out and kind of does the same thing with Coach Olin and this coaching staff experimenting with different lineups?
It's early in the season, so this is another exhibition game, and that's what you do in exhibition games. You experiment, and I think what Jake Hall I think Albury said that he thought Jake Hall would be the freshman of the year, so they like Jake Hall a lot, and I think again, you played for Damian Segura. He loved to break down film. He loved to see missed matches. What do we do wrong? I guess I can guarantee Coach Olin looked over that film with a fine-tooth comb. And, saw what they did. They didn't shoot the ball well. So I would expect them to shoot a little bit better tomorrow night. And you might see players, and we saw that last year with Coach Patino. Certain players got to play, and then they didn't. And so that's the nature of the game. You want to see what lineups are best, what works best. You mentioned that matchup zone. We saw that in practice that day. I was watching them play that matchup zone, and they got one guy running to cover a lot of area. And assistant coach Mike Roberts was really, on them. You got to sprint to that spot. You got to sprint and get your hands up. So they're still learning this whole system, son. New players, new coach. Everything is new, and the chemistry is not going to be there after one game. So they're going to experiment a lot tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think it's going to be something new for us. We knew how Patino and his staff coached. We're going to see it in person tomorrow night. We didn't see it on Saturday. We listened to it. So I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
Lobo basketball in action tomorrow night at the pit. Tip-off 7 p.m. They will take on Northern Arizona in an exhibition game. Let's preview just a little bit for a couple minutes, Dad. Then we'll cut this off. We're going on an hour. But let's take a quick look at Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks will be the exhibition team that the Lobos play tomorrow. They were 7th place finishers in the Big Sky Conference last season, record of 18-14. Their head coach is Shane Burkar. He's entering his 7th season. If this was a regular season game, Dad, this would probably hurt UNM's net rating. I think I saw Northern Arizona started the season out preseason 275 in KenPom. They're probably right around the same spot in the net. They got 3 players returning from last season. Guard Oakland Ford, he's 5'10", 180 out of Phoenix, Arizona, average 4.3 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. Another guard, Ryan Abelman, around 6'4", he's a redshirt junior. The biggest contributor coming back is a forward. His name's Diego Campazano, and he's actually from San Diego, California. I'm sure Coach Eric Olin is familiar with him. He averaged 7.1 points per game last year for the Lumberjacks, but he had a stretch, Dad, from mid-January to early February last year where he got hot and averaged about 16.8 points per game and shot 50% from 3. So, a 3-point shooter with some length. He's listed at 6'6". Lobos are going to have to mark him. And then another guy for Lobo fans that it's at least a name that you'll recognize, Drew Timmy's younger brother, Walker Timmy. He's a redshirt junior transfer from the College of Southern Idaho, 6'7", 227. He will suit up for the Lumberjacks tomorrow. Dad, closing it out, I think the difference in this NAU team compared to the Washington State team that the Lobos faced up against on Saturday. They're not going to have the length and size inside to disrupt shots in the paint. UNM shot 4 for 17 from shots inside the paint. Everybody talks about how bad they shot from the three-point line. They were worse inside the lane, and some of it was that Washington State front court. They had some big guys inside. The Boise State transfer, Emmanuel Ugbo, 6'8", 245. They had another guy, N.D. Okafor, 6'10", 250. You look at Northern Arizona's roster, Dad, there's nobody that's really built like that. So, attacking the basket, probably not as much of an issue for the Lobos tomorrow. I think Coach Olin just wants to see this team come out, compete, have a better shot selection, play more discipline on the defensive end of the floor, and I think he'll be content, Dad.
That's a good point. You're right. But I got to ask you this, son, and I don't want to go on and on about this. Who's New Mexico's post presence? I'm anxious to see that tomorrow. Who's the guy, in the past couple of years, throw it into Mo Daisy, throw it into Nelly Jr. Joseph, and expect 1.5 points, 2 points per possession, whatever they averaged. So I'm kind of anxious to see that. New Mexico, you mentioned the size of the Lumberjacks front line wasn't what Washington State had. So they should have a little bit more. In Albury, here's the other thing, Nick. Albury didn't play very well, didn't play very much. I'm anxious to see a breakout game for him. The voice of the Lobos is very high on him. We saw what he did at Utah State. I thought that Coach Olin bringing him in was a huge key to the recruits he got in here. Albury can attack the rim. He can pass the ball. He's a big key. Likes to go get contact and score, and he's strong enough to finish through contact. So I think tomorrow night you should see more attacking the rim than we saw against Washington State. Remember, everything's new. It's good to practice, and you scrimmage against your own guys. You go out there against another team, a little bit different. So tomorrow night, another test for this very young UNM team.
No doubt, Dad, and I'll leave it with this. Good point on who's going to be the inside presence. I think Coach Olin has wanted people to move away from the narrative that this team just doesn't have the size. This is a different style of basketball, a different brand of basketball that doesn't use traditional post size. JT Rock, 8 minutes against Washington State on Saturday. Coach Olin was asked at the press conference, 8 minutes for JT Rock. Was it just one of those games where you're trying to get other guys' looks? And Coach Olin's answer was, no, 8 minutes is about what we had scheduled for JT Rock. So looks like, it's going to fall on the shoulders of Tomislav Buljan and also Milos Vicentić. If you're playing in that matchup zone, the guy in the middle at the bottom has a big responsibility. He's like the quarterback of the zone. They're going to have to, play really well on defense, force some turnovers, and rebound the ball when it comes their way. But get out to the pit tomorrow, 7 p.m. tip-off exhibition against Northern Arizona. They're going to run a promotional deal. There's going to be a costume contest, and there's going to be some goodie bags passed out. So families, get out there, get to the pit, support Lobo basketball in this exhibition game against Northern Arizona. Dad, you want to wrap it up?
Yes, tonight's guests were St. Mike's head coach Joey Fernandez, his team, St. Mike's Horseman, on a 30-game winning streak, which is incredible, honestly. And football is very hard to win 5 in a row. He's on a 30-game win streak. And our other guest was Pit Press Lobo football beat writer Greg Archuleta. So thanks to all the watchers this night, this evening. We'll probably have a Lobo basketball and football wrap-up sometime, maybe Sunday or Monday. We'll keep everybody informed. Once again, for owner Eric Olson, for my son Nick Nunez, for myself, Ed Nunez, thank you so much for watching Huddle Up on the Pit Press Live.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe, we're proud to stand with the survivors, the fighters, and the families who inspire us every single day. And while we honor their strength, we're also helping you with the strength to save with special dealer offers. Like a new Ford F-150 XLT, save with 3.9% APR financing for 72 months. Or a new Ford Bronco Sport, lease for just $399 a month at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.